screams and laser beams. Welcome to Fast Food Films, home of the 6-minute movie. Our films are short takes on the originals, but with a twist. We show you just enough to make you want to see the whole flick without giving away the story or ending like some trailers do. And we do it 3 times in a half hour. That's 3 movies served up our way. Just think of the time you're gonna save. And when we're done, we'll tell you how you can get your hands on your own personal copy of these hard-to-find movies. Got it? Good. Moving on. First up is Raiders from Outer Space, and it wasn't originally a movie at all. This movie is a compilation of 3 different episodes of the 60s TV show The Time Tunnel, starring James Darren and Robert Colbert. This show was about 2 scientists with really bad luck who got lost in time. Why bad luck? Because they always seem to end up at the Alamo, on the Titanic, and at Custer's Last Stand. Man, you think just once they'd like wind up in some ancient love harem or something, but no such luck. Sometimes, in fact, they even got in trouble in the future. And that's pretty much the case in Raiders from Outer Space. They battle some weird silver guys and end up on a mission to Mars. You know, the whole time-traveling Megillah. So get ready to go back into the past for a peek at the future. Here's the Fast Food Films take on Raiders from Outer Space.
This is the city, Los Angeles, California, home to over 130 million citizens representing all races, creeds, and planets. By and large, Angelinos are honest and law-abiding. But now and then, a rotten apple threatens to spoil the bunch. That's where I step in. I carry a badge. The stories you're about to see are not true. The names have been changed because our attorneys made us. It was warm in Los Angeles, a Thursday, 9:31 a.m. I was working the day watch. I take my orders from Captain Tennille. My name is Friday, Joe Friday the 13th.
Mobile Tic-Toc 1 to Tic-Toc base. Permission to enter. Code Red Lion.
Tic-Toc base to Mobile Tic-Toc 1. Permission granted.
Captain Tennille informed me that my longtime partner, Officer Tony Parker, had recently been acting erratic. Tony had become obsessed with building a device he called a time tunnel. According to Tony, the tunnel would allow the police to apprehend long-dead criminals like Adolf Hitler.
We're so close now.
Close to what, son?
To sending a man back in time and returning him, of course.
Well, then do it.
Seems a little emotional.
Captain Tennille was right. Tony was acting like a sorority girl at a Fabian concert. If he kept on like this, he was liable to do something rash. But for the life of me, I couldn't foresee what that might be. Running into the time tunnel. Didn't see that coming. I leapt into action. I knew what I had to do. I had to go into the time tunnel and bring Tony back before it was too late, or too early.
But what if it doesn't work?
Well, then he'll be lost in time for the rest of his life.
11:16 a.m. I put on my wool time travel beret and headed in. I blacked out. When I came to, I was with Tony on some sort of spaceship, and I was wearing Tony's pants.
Where are we?
Where were we indeed? 12:45 p.m. The lights came back up, and we realized we weren't alone. Our host, a silver-colored fellow named Newman, sat us down and gave us his resume.
Upon his graduation from high school, Newman left Philadelphia for Boston to matriculate to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
When I informed Newman that his superior intelligence didn't qualify for the police academy,
Take them to their quarters.
he locked us up in a holding cell with a female lab technician and fed us edible cubes.
Now, what in the world do you suppose they are?
The cubes tasted like chicken. Not bad. Newman had summoned us. He wanted to show us the project he was working on.
One of our subjects. You might even recognize the subjects.
Wouldn't you know it? Turns out Tony was right about the time tunnel and Adolf Hitler.
He was retrieved from a bunker in Berlin an instant before he attempted suicide.
I dispatched Newman's thug with a quick judo chop
Don't let him use the weapon!
and apprehended Newman himself using my police-issue laser eradicator beam. Meanwhile, Tony fingerprinted and processed Mr. Hitler. That's one less dictator on the streets. 3:15 p.m. Tony and I returned to the time vortex, looking forward to a hot bath and some well-deserved shut-eye. But before we could settle in, Tony noticed a large cylindrical object in the sky. It looked like a pickle.
It's a rocket.
M-E-M.
The infamous Moon Exploitation Mafia. Tony and I had stumbled onto one of their illegal lunar smuggling rockets.
They don't know we're in here.
The department had been on the trail of the MEM for months. These boys were the scum of the scum. They had a hand in everything from illicit moon cheese to moon-related pornography. If Tony and I could get to the MEM's lunar depot, we could destroy it and put these punks out of business.
You're in a lot of trouble. You're the one who's in trouble.
I set an explosive charge and hightailed it out of there.
We've only got enough air for a couple of hours.
Things looked bleak for Tony and myself. The silver alien Newman was charged and convicted for kidnapping a long-dead fascist dictator. Newman was sentenced to 12 years at a Venusian labor camp. The members of the MEM died accidentally after repeatedly banging their heads against a police officer's nightstick. Adolf Hitler was acquitted due to lack of evidence. Sergeant Joe Friday the 13th and Tony Parker suffocated on the moon. They were posthumously awarded the police department's highest honor, the Distinguished Suffocation Cross.
Raiders from Outer Space was produced by that master of disaster, Irwin Allen, who also gave us TV classics like Lost in Space and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. In fact, some of his sets and costumes from those shows ended up in Raiders from Outer Space. Hey, a producer likes to save a buck. Of course, the star of the time tunnel, Mr. James Darren, ladies and gentlemen, was already famous as a pop star. And he's still on the cutting edge. In 1998, he was on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and in 1999, he made several appearances as Tony Marlin on Melrose Place. Oh, talk about alien civilizations. If you want to see the full-length Raiders from Outer Space, we'll show you how you can own a copy of the original full-length movie later in the show. Coming up next, older women you want to get to know. And later, older women you want to stay clear of. Hey, there's more show coming up, so sit still. To Fast Food Films, where short and quick is actually an asset. Our next flick is Beyond the Door 2, a horror movie from the horror master, Mario Bava. You probably guessed that this is a sequel to, well, Beyond the Door. But you know, it has almost nothing to do with the first film. Different plot, different characters, the whole schmear. All right, here's the deal. Beyond the Door 2 is about a woman who returns to her old house with her new husband and son. Trouble is, this is the house where her first hubby met a grisly death. Something that put the wife into a mental institution. So it seemed like a good idea to everyone for her to move right back into Hell House. Needless to say, no sooner does the furniture get moved in than the whole feng shui is ruined by demonic possession, evil knife-wielding ghosts, disembodied hands. Oh, it's all very unpleasant. So ignore those sounds coming from your basement.
Marco, are you down there?
And settle in for our Fast Food Films take on Beyond the Door 2.
The Union of Concerned Parents presents Look, Ma, No Handcuffs. Identifying the At-Risk Child, narrated by rock legend Kip Rickles.
Hey, I'm Kip Rickles, superstar rock legend. You probably know me from my rock opera, Prancing Pederast Parade. Or perhaps from my recent arrest for tugging my willy in that public loo. Anyway, as part of my plea bargain, I said I'd narrate this bleeding public service announcement. Apparently the kids look up to me, being as I'm a genius and whatnot. So, this here's the Jigger family. And this here's Marco.
Marco, that's my name.
This is his mum, Dora, and his dad, Bruno.
Bruno's not my father. He's my mother's second husband.
Yeah, whatever, kid. Today, we're going to follow Marco to learn how to recognise when your brat's on the road to self-destruction, which also happens to be the title of my new single, Your Brat's on the Road to Self-Destruction. So, how do you know when your kid's got a problem?
I can't stand it much longer. I'll go out of my mind. I'm even afraid of my own son.
Well, there's these warning signs you've got to watch for, 7 of them, and they don't all jump out and bite you in the like a certain groupie I once met in Omaha. You know who you are, love. For Marco, his road to hell starts innocently enough with a phase where he asks pesky questions that are difficult to explain.
Why doesn't my real daddy ever come back to see me?
Marco's mother makes the common mistake of sugarcoating it for him.
Your daddy is dead, Marco.
Why, Mama? Why'd you kill Papa?
Then Marco gets what the head shrinkers call an edible complex. I call him a bleeding horn dog. It makes Marco loony thinking of his mum playing park the lorry with that tosser Bruno.
Pigs! Pigs! pigs!
So Marco decides to show Mum his own moves. Not bad for a rugrat, eh?
Help! Help! Let me out!
Unfortunately, since his mum won't buy what Marco's selling, he starts working off his sexual frustrations in other ways.
I love you. Kiss me.
I'm in hurry.
By now, Marco has become pretty antisocial.
Mama, I have to kill you.
And he starts rigging up little bits of sabotage as practical jokes.
Giddy up! Yoo-hoo! Come on, men, follow me!
Marco, you come back here!
To make matters worse, Marco has learned satanic powers from playing a certain genius's rock album backwards. But I ain't saying whose. Anyway, Marco uses his satanic powers for evil, because he's now become consumed by his escalating chewable children's vitamin habit.
Steady! Yeah, I'm trying to, but I can't. It doesn't respond.
Meanwhile, Marco's dead father decides to possess him. Marco's parents take his demonic possession in their stride. And they start thinking about getting Marco some professional help.
Mama!
Before it's too bloody late. So his folks take Marco to see a kiddie shrink named Fibish.
Unfortunately, I'm not a child psychologist.
Dr. Fibish has Marco draw some pictures so he can tap into Marco's dark psyche.
Oi, speaking of taps, who's up do I have to kiss to get a point round here?
Look at this drawing. I would say the child here is without problems. The overall concept's a positive one. The first impression, the child's behavior seems to be balanced and quite mature for his age.
Even though the doc finds Marco mentally fit, he prescribes some minor therapeutic measures.
6 months in a sanatorium and electric shock treatments.
And all's well that ends well, at least for Marco. But what about your little terror? It's convenient to point fingers for your kids' problems. I mean, what with the violence in the media and all that rubbish. But maybe you've created an ugly family environment and haven't even realised it. Think how your kid might misunderstand a simple row between his parents, or even learn to imitate what he's seen. So, take the time for a quiet spot of tea and talk about these issues with your family. That's the key to proper child raising. Tea, and lots of it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a reunion tour to plan. Cheers!
Now what game shall we play?
Whoa, eerie kid, huh? That kid is played by David Collin Jr. Actually, he's the only actor who was in both Beyond the Door and Beyond the Door 2. As far as we know, he never made another film. Coincidence? Or another example of the Beyond the Door curse. Case in point, Beyond the Door 2 was one of the last films of the great horror meister Mario Bava, the man who gave us classics like Black Sunday and Black Sabbath and other movies that didn't even have the word black in the title. Coming up, you can't hide those lion eyes. Hey, catch your breath. We'll be back with more fast food films after this. Fast food films. It's like you never left. You know, high school is a very turbulent time for everyone. Acne, sex, peer pressure, grades, and blood-sucking monsters from outer space. Our next film takes an insightful look into all of these issues. Teenage Space Vampires. It's about a semi-nerdy teenager who thinks life is already tough enough, what with getting beat up by bullies and having no girlfriend and his best friend being a spaz and all. But when a spaceship lands in a vacant lot near his house and that spaceship turns out to be crawling with vampires, well, let's just say a wedgie starts looking better all the time. So it's time to get all nostalgic about the horrible monsters you knew in high school. Here's our fast food films take on Teenage Space Vampires.
This program contains eyewitness claims of vampires and supernatural beings. Whenever possible, actual footage is used to present these stories. In other cases, authentic-looking dramatic recreations are utilized. It is 11 o'clock in the afternoon, a clear spring day. cheerleader Katie Swenson is cheering her team to their 3rd straight varsity championship. An unexpected timeout is called. What happened next would change Katie's life forever, or would it? Find out when we search for proof positive, definitive evidence of the absolute certainty that real-life vampires may or may not exist. Are there vampires among us? Do unearthly creatures walk the earth? Outrageous fiction? Or is there any chance this could be a serious documentary subject? Tonight, startling footage of an occult artifact, which some believe may have had some connection to the occult at some time. Eyewitness accounts of a campout some say was spoiled by the undead.
Gotcha!
And for the first time on television, a startling new dramatization of an alleged attack at a South Dakota high school. Are vampires real? Vampires, real live undead bloodsuckers, or merely an attempt to grab ratings? This Ohio teenager uncovered proof of vampiric infestation in his own backyard. A metallic disc over 15 feet in diameter. His story seemed incredible.
I'm not making it up.
Until we obtained this startling, uncut videotape. Although Billy accidentally recorded over most of the videotape, the questions it raises are unavoidable. Could this object be definitive evidence of the existence of vampires? Maybe. Maybe not. One of the most credible recent accounts of a vampire sighting came from this man, Frank Thompson, a paranoid schizophrenic who refused to be interviewed on camera for fear the device would steal his soul.
Maybe best if you came back some other time.
While Frank was checking his phone for wiretaps, a visitor stopped by.
Let me guess, you're the sheriff?
No. But according to Frank, the visitor wanted to suck his blood. According to Frank, everyone wants to suck his blood. But even more shocking than Frank's allegations were these surveillance photos. No one has been able to dispute that these are actual photographs.
I have empirical evidence.
Which clearly show Frank and a figure resembling a human being. According to legend, vampires are able to assume human form. Coincidence? These photos and Frank's testimony may prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Frank had an encounter of some kind with something or other. Perhaps.
There's something else you should know.
These young lovers were looking for a private place to have their first homosexual experience. But what they saw that night would deprive them of more than their innocence. Their remarkable story was confirmed when one of the victims came forward.
They're just excited about trying to bite me and turn me into some kind of space vampire. Let them have their fun. They're harmless.
This haunting first-hand testimony may be impossible to refute, though no one has tried. But perhaps the most stunning evidence of all was captured on film at a South Dakota high school soccer game. These flabbergasting images taken by a handheld video camera provide the strongest proof to date of the existence of vampires. Now, for the first time ever on television, witness the breathtaking, unedited reenactment of this attack.
I want you guys to play like there's no tomorrow. Yeah!
Breathtaking photos or brazen forgeries. Perhaps
we will never know the truth. But one thing is certain. If even one of these stories is true, then there could be more. And if there are, then the possibility that vampires may be real, may be a very real possibility.
Okay, two things. This movie is supposed to be set in California. So, does this look like California to you? Well, does it? Well, it's not. It was filmed in Romania. Oh yeah, Romania, California, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Oh, and the movie's called Teenage Space Vampires, right? Do these look like teenagers to you? Well, maybe they are, by undead standards. Now, one of tonight's stars was married to screen legend Bette Davis. Can you guess which one? Well, fasten your seatbelts. You'll find out after this. Fast Food Films highlight of Raiders from Outer Space and would like to purchase the original full-length home video version of the film, visit your local video store or have your credit card ready and call 1-888-568-3320 or send a money order to the address on your screen. If you want to own your own personal copy of the full-length home video version of Teenage Space Vampires, visit the Full Moon website or call their toll-free number. And if you want to see the original Beyond the Door 2, head down to your local video store and they'll fix you up. Now, which of our stars was once married to Bette Davis? Well, that would be Mr. Gary Merrill, Raiders from Outer Space. Betty and Gary even co-starred in a few movies, most notably All About Eve. Hey, we run a class show here. Come on. We hope you enjoyed our take of these classic films that Hollywood might not remember, but we can't forget. Come back next week for more bite-sized movies, served up our way. Thanks for visiting Fast Food Films. Please pull forward. Good night.